Hi everybody, welcome to another live stream. Lara Ryan from Complete Test Success here. So today we are looking at Academic IELTS Writing Task 1. If you're new to these live streams, basically I'm going to share a question with you. I'll get you to write the various parts of I'm going to get you to write the various parts of the answer, and I'll give you feedback on your work. So mainly what I want to do is I want to point out what mistakes you're making. And once you understand what mistakes you're making, then you'll be able to fix those mistakes. That's basically how it works. So let's just have a quick look, make sure the software is working here. Okay, looks like everything is good. So let me share the question with you guys here right now. So this is the question we're looking at. And for those of you, maybe you're not familiar with how to write a task 1 essay. So we always begin by paraphrasing the question. So that's what I want you to do right now. I want you to paraphrase the question, and I want you to share your paraphrase with me in the comments so that I can take a look and I can give you feedback. Now, what do I mean by paraphrase the question? There's always going to be a little bit of text up here at the top of the question, and it describes what the question is about. And because you're writing an essay about this question, about this graph, your essay is about the same thing. So, basically, this is saying what the question's about, and your first sentence is saying what your essay is about. But we don't want to just copy every word from the question. We want to show that we understand it. We want to show that we have a high enough English ability that we can rewrite it using our own words. Just be careful. A lot of people try to change every single word, and that is very difficult for even a native English speaker. So don't put yourself under extra pressure to change every word. Yes, it is important to change some of the words. It is not important to change every word. So change the ones that you can change, and then you'll just copy the words that you cannot change accurately. Hi, Patience. Welcome to the lesson. Humayan, how can I get a band 6 in writing task 1? So basically, we'll run through how to write the essay in this lesson here today. But what you can do as well is share your answers with me. So at the moment, I've asked you to write a paraphrase. So if you're doing something wrong, I'll be able to show you what you're doing wrong, and then you will fix that mistake, and that will help to improve your score. So basically, follow the lesson to learn what to do, and share your writing so that you can learn what mistakes you need to avoid in future, or if it's a weakness, for example, some grammar issue or some vocab issue, or your vocab isn't high enough, you'll know what areas you need to improve as well. Beiruz, hello, welcome to the lesson. Panthea, hi Panthea, good to see you here. Room, good afternoon to you and welcome. Okay, so Chungdrag, welcome to the lesson. So that's basically what we're doing. Obviously, you need some time to write the paraphrase. So write the paraphrase, share it with me in the comments, and then I'll have feedback for you. Good to see you too. Thank you. Okay, so first in is Afan. The graph, oh, it seems like I'm having a bit of an internet problem. If you're not hearing me correctly, well, obviously that's redundant, but if the screen, if my if the video isn't clear, that's probably my internet, but just give it a moment. It'll be okay in a moment. I live in the countryside, so the internet isn't always 100%. It's pretty good, but not always perfect. Okay, Afan. The graph displays details regarding the changes in the revenue of 5 manufacturers of toothpaste in 2000 and then in 2005 as compared to its revenue in 2015. Now, the language is great. You've done a great job, but the information isn't accurate. So you said 2000, 2005 compared to its revenue in 2015, but the question is in comparison to 1995. And having accurate information is incredibly important. So even though you've done a great job and the language is good, you're now limited to a band 6 for task achievement because you should have said 1995 and in your essay you said 2015. So that is a problem in that you have inaccurate information. Now, of course, it's possible for you to get a lower score than band 6 in task achievement, but it is now no longer possible for you to get a higher score than band 6 in task achievement. So a lovely piece of writing. I'm going to take that and I'm going to add it to the screen here now. But that's just something to be very, very careful with in future. And the thing is as well, if you make a mistake like this once, you're now aware that that's the type of mistake you are capable of making. There's some people that just, it's very common for them to make that type of mistake. So if you know that you are capable of making, mistakes with the data, what you would do is when you finish writing your essay, you want to spend a few minutes checking for errors. So ideally you would finish writing your task 1 essay in about 15 minutes, and that would give you 5 minutes to check for mistakes. And if you could potentially have the inaccurate data, some people do and some people never do, but if you are one of the people who could potentially have a mistake like that, the first thing you should check for is the data. Double check all the data, double check the names of all the categories, make sure that everything is accurate, because you could potentially go from a band 8 down to a band 6 for a small piece of inaccurate information like that. It's a very significant impact. It's a very significant impact to having a small mistake like that. So then obviously check all the data, and then as normal, go and check the vocab, go and check the grammar. But definitely I would recommend, to help avoid such a mistake, just to be careful with that. Anyway, so let me add in the piece of writing. It's, like I said, it's a great piece of writing. Just unfortunately, the language is not right. Bigger. Okay, the graph displays details regarding, so there's going to be the changes in the revenue of 5 manufacturers of toothpaste in 2000 and 2015 as compared to its revenue and then we just changed that to 1995. So very little to be changed. A great piece of writing. The language is lovely. Just that one little mistake. And there we are. Thing is as well, you very likely would have caught that mistake. You very likely would have noticed that mistake yourself when you were rereading it at the end. But yeah, great piece of writing there. Okay, so let's see what else we have here. Shui Burr from Bangladesh. Lovely to have you here. Welcome. Sorry, actually the screen was blurred. Yes, that was my internet connection. My internet connection I mentioned wasn't great for a minute. So that's why the data was wrong. Okay, so perfect. So that's obviously not something for you to be concerned about when you're in your IELTS test. Great. Well done, Afan. That's a great piece of writing. Facebook user. The bar graph illustrates how the revenue of 5 toothpaste manufacturers in 2000, and then we need, no, so in 2000 and 2005 compared with 1995. Everything else is good. Yeah, well done. Okay, so we have the paraphrase on the screen. The next thing we want is the overview. I'm not going to go into detail. This is actually an unusual question. This is an unusual question in that normally we're not looking at data compared to a year that's not on the chart. So we have the year 2000 and we have the year 2005 on the chart, but these are not, this is not the data for those years. It's the data in comparison to 1995. So it's an unusual question. We don't often, in fact, I've only ever seen one IELTS question that did this, but regardless, it's good to know how to deal with them. You know, there's no reason for us to imagine that this will never come up in the IELTS test again. It could potentially come up again. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to give you some time to write the overview. I prefer to let you make your own mistakes first, and then I can explain with you what mistakes you're making. You will learn more from making mistakes and me telling you what they are than me just writing an overview and you going, oh, okay, I understand. So it's not about do you understand it? It's about what can you produce by yourself. So I'm going to stay quiet. I'm going to let you guys write your overview. Again, share it with me in the comments once you're ready, and then I'll have feedback for you again. So for this, let's say I'll give you about 3 minutes. I'll give you about 3 minutes to write this overview. Okay, Beruz has another paraphrase here. The given is a chart. So we would just say the given chart. Delete is a. The given chart, and then we need a verb. So you've put in providing, which would be a gerund. It acts as a noun, but you need a verb here. So the given chart provides information about changes in revenue among 5 toothpaste producers in the exact years of, there's no need for in the exact years of, you can just say in 2000 and 2005, or in the years of 2000, 2005 would be fine. But definitely we want to delete the exact. That's not necessary and that's not natural. And not with comparison, it has to be in comparison with 1995, or in comparison with the year of 1995. So, and then a full stop at the end. So you have the same meaning. It's actually easy to understand what you said, but the accuracy of your grammar and your vocab are the main issues here, Beruz. So that's what you would need to work on your vocab and your grammar. Patience. The graph illustrates the money generated from 5 producers of toothpaste. So it's not that there is generated from, that would mean that somebody else is getting it, but it would be money generated by, or money earned, or money, the revenue. I think just using the word revenue would probably be more direct. Producers of toothpaste in the year 2000 and 2005 compared to the amount in the year 1995. Yeah, so just some small little bits there. Okay, Afan, the graph is blurred again. It might be your internet this time, Afan. My internet isn't giving me any warnings. I'll always get a little warning on my side. So this time it might actually be yours. Oh, sorry, I got you. Yep, absolutely perfect. No need to be sorry. This is what we're here for. We're here for you to show me your mistakes so that I can show you what they are. So yeah, the whole purpose of this is to discover what mistakes you're making. So absolutely no problem there, Beruz. That's the whole goal. The whole goal is to figure out what you're doing wrong so that you can understand how to improve your scores. That's what we're doing here. While I'm waiting for you all to complete your overviews, I'll just share a link with you here for my free live feedback lessons, which are my free group classes on Zoom. Just click on the link. Oh, not that one. Click on the link and sign up, and you will see the links to join, the topics that are being covered in each lesson, the times and the dates, and so on. So you'll see the full schedule there after you sign up, and you can join me on Zoom for even more support. Domenico, hello to you. Welcome. Dilshad, isn't this graph weird? Yes, I agree. It is weird. Definitely. Facebook user, the graph is showing the revenue of 2000 and 2005, but how it is comparing them with the year 1995. So is this a question? Or is that a paraphrase? I'm not sure what this is. Is this a question for me, Facebook user? Side4, very good, thank you. How are you doing? Domenico, what have you been up to? Working. It's been raining a lot, so stuck in my office, to be honest. Sorry for the delay, enjoying the class. I'm cooking some healthy lunch at the moment. Good man, Domenico. Yes, it is a question. Okay, so the graph is showing the revenue of 2000, 2005, but it's comparing them with 1995. So what we're looking at here is percentage increase and decrease. So let's say what we're looking at here, let's find an easy one. So if we look at, where am I now? Okay. So if we look at this one here, say in 2005, the revenue was 5% higher than the revenue in 1995. So it will say whatever the revenue, say the revenue in 1995 for Colgate was $100. Of course, it's not going to be that. So what we would say then was that in 2005, it was 5% higher. So plus 5%, because it's 5% higher. These are percentages. So then obviously in this year, it would be 105. But in this year, it was 5% lower. So that would mean it's 100 less 5%. So this year would be 95. So what we're doing is we're comparing what the value was in 1995 with their values here. So we don't know, like, you know, it could be that Crest had the highest revenue in all 3 years, just that it had a decrease compared to 1995. So there's nothing to say that Crest had lower revenue than the others. All we know is that Crest's revenue was lower in these years compared to its own revenue in 1995. So that's what we're looking at here. That's what the chart represents. So yeah, it's a bit trickier. It's a bit less straightforward than the typical questions, but nevertheless, that's what we're looking at, and that's what we need to do. Okay. Patience, okay. Forsic, only Uzbeks. I'm not sure what you're getting at there. Or do you have IELTS certificate? To be honest, I don't know about you a lot. I was an IELTS examiner, and I've been teaching IELTS since 2010. And I was teaching IELTS in the British Council, so a lot of experience with the IELTS test. Yeah. So how are we doing with those overviews? Has anybody nearly finished their overview? It's been a while. If I don't see any overviews, let's say in the next minute, what I'll do is I'll show you what to do, and we'll continue to the next part of the lesson. Sci4, could you tell us individual result in your IELTS? Sci4, I'm an IELTS instructor. I'm not an IELTS student. I've been an IELTS examiner, not an IELTS candidate, Sci4. You're probably used to IELTS candidates teaching IELTS, but I'm an IELTS examiner. Okay, so I'm not sure if anybody's going to attempt this overview. Maybe it's too difficult. Maybe you guys are kind of puzzled about what you want to do here. So let me have a go for you. So we kind of have two options here. So what we can do is, let's say we'll look at Colgate first, and we'll say Colgate had a decrease in revenue in 2000 compared with 1995, and an increase in 2005 compared to 1995. But what we don't want to do is, it's kind of challenging to compare these two together. So rather than trying to compare this one with this one and to compare them this way, what we want to do is we want to compare them this way. So comparing them with 1995 that way, because that's what the chart is showing. It's comparing them with 1995. So that's going to be the most direct way to do it. So let me just check, has anyone attempted the overview here yet? Dilshad, are you still an IELTS examiner? I'm not Dilshad. No, not anymore. Beiruz, it's a bit difficult. Yeah, definitely. It's quite difficult for sure. Abdul, knowing information which leads us to be aware about details, the related manufacturer toothpaste in 2000 and then in 2005 as comparison to 95. So this is a paraphrase. It's a little bit too complicated, Abdul. So what you want to do is keep it to the same meaning as the original question. So, just start off with the chart. So the question says the chart, and then you would paraphrase that. We've paraphrased it by saying the graph. If you want to use another word, as long as it has the same meaning, that's fine. Patients, upon initial observation, Colgate close-up increased. I don't know how to go about it. Yeah, it's difficult, patients. I get you for sure. But then when did it increase, and in comparison to what? It's so difficult. Absolutely. I'll show you an example now, and you'll understand it more clearly in a moment. Hi, Danveer. Welcome to the lesson. Okay, so let me pull up. I have a paraphrase that I wrote. Excuse me, I have an overview that I wrote for this a while back. So let me just get that now, and I'll pop it in here. So what I've done is I've gone bit by bit, category by category. So overall, compared to 1995, so I'm saying that we're making a comparison, Sensodyne and Aquafresh's revenue were higher in both years. So what I'm saying is Aquafresh, green and green, higher in comparison to 1995, and Sensodyne, red and red, both of these were higher. So now what I've said is it was higher here and it was higher here in comparison to 1995. Then while Crest's was lower in both years. So what color is Crest? Crest is yellow. So this one was lower in both years in comparison to 1995 again. For Colgate and Close-Up, so Colgate is blue, their revenue was lower in 2000 but higher in 2005. So blue and orange were lower in 2000. Again, all of these being compared with 1995, but higher in 2005, again being compared. So what you see there is by comparing them to 1995, which ones were higher and which ones were lower, but talking about each category one at a time, rather than trying to discuss, 2000 first and then 2005 second. So I've gone with each category one at a time, and then for each before and after, for 2000 and 2005, comparing them with 1995. Okay, so before we continue, I know this question is difficult, so if anyone has any questions about that overview that we have on our screen here, if anyone has any questions, please go ahead and ask, just to make sure that you're following the lesson. So if anyone has any questions, go ahead, and then we will look at the next part of the essay. Sir, I've made some significant changes to my daily routine by incorporating physical exercise to ensure that I have a good level of physical fitness for my upcoming diving activity. Good. I mean, being healthy is great for the IELTS test as well. What a lot of people will do is they'll give up exercising, they'll try to sleep less and things like that so that they have more time for the IELTS test. But, if you're not taking care of yourself, if you're not eating well, if you're not exercising, if you're not sleeping, you're not going to make as much improvement as, if you take care of yourself and study. So you kind of have to find that balance. Spending all your time studying and then neglecting your body doesn't really work either, because your brain just doesn't work as efficiently. Where's the data for 1995? The data for 1995 is not on the chart. The data for 95 is not on the chart. So we don't know what the data is for 1995. But really, we don't know what the data is for any of them. We don't know how much revenue any of these companies made. That's why I said, even for, what's the yellow one? Crest. Even for Crest could potentially be the company that made the most money out of all of these. So it might have made more money in 95 and 2000 and 2005, because an increase in one company doesn't mean it was as high as the other. So we don't know any of the revenues. We just know the comparison. It's an unusual question for sure. Is it worth mentioning that diving activity included in the research that I undertake after taking the IELTS exam? Not necessarily. Not necessarily. Isn't it too detailed for an overall? No, definitely not. No. So when we're saying that you want to avoid putting in specific information, so in the overview, when we're saying don't put in specific information, like, if you said in your overview that Colgate in 2005 was 5% higher than its revenue in 1995, that would be a problem. So if you're putting in specific numbers, like these numbers here, the data, if the data goes into your overview, that's a problem. You'll automatically get a band 5 for task achievement instantly. But describing which ones increased and which ones decreased, well, that's essentially what you have to do in the overview. So no, definitely not too much data. Without that data, there wouldn't be anything else to say. That's an overview. So in general, what happened with no specific information. So when you're being told that you shouldn't put in specific information, that is correct. That's 100% correct. But what that means is, don't write in the 5% or the 10% or the minus 5% or whatever that is. So no specific information like that. I've been asked to practice the description of this graph, not only the IELTS exam, but also for professional purposes. Well, I mean, you'll have the language. You'll have the language for it. Task 1 is too difficult. Well, look, if you're only starting, and the thing is as well, this question is more difficult than the average task 1 question. So if you're looking at this, if this is the first task 1 question you've looked at, this is a very challenging question. So I wouldn't worry about it. Like normally what we would do in these questions, so not this one, but normally we would just compare this bit with this bit, and we'd say that's higher. And then this bit with this bit, and we'd say that's higher. This bit with this bit, that's increased. This bit with this bit, this is decreased. This bit with this bit, that's increased. So normally all you would say is like, blue, red, yellow, and orange increased while green decreased. Normally that's what you would do, but this question is more complicated. So obviously, if you're finding it challenging, it's because, well, it is a challenging question. Okay, so it seems like you guys don't have any questions about the overview. So what I want you to think about is, how are we going to organize the details paragraphs? So we're going to have 2 details paragraphs where we describe the specific data. How would you recommend we organize this? So I guess there are really only 2 options. We can go one paragraph about 2000 and one paragraph about 2005, or one paragraph about 3 of the categories and the other about the remaining 2 categories. So just let me know in the comments, what do you think? What way would you organize that? Have you heard of the visual census sampling method? No, Dominic, I haven't. I've never heard of that. Cypher, you're very welcome. If we can have average and challenging tasks, doesn't this affect the reliability of the test? I can see how you would debate that. But, you know, if you can't analyze a graph, then that's going to be a problem. Would you get an easier question sometimes? Some of them are more straightforward. If you've prepared yourself properly for the test, it shouldn't matter. If you haven't prepared yourself properly for the test, you might get lucky. So I guess, yeah, to a degree, but nobody's going to get a high score by accident. So in that regard, I would say no. Nobody's going to accidentally get a much higher score than they deserve. So I think in that sense, it wouldn't be unreliable. You know, an unreliable test is, you know, if somebody wasn't able to communicate in English and suddenly they're, you know, working as a doctor in the UK, performing surgery on people with, you know, others that they can't communicate with. So in that sense, no, I wouldn't say that it makes it unreliable. But certainly, if you're underprepared, you might be lucky and get a question that isn't as challenging. Yeah, for sure. It implies you collect data while diving. Nice. So you have to do this as well, Domenico. Yeah. Well, I mean, to be honest, if you're making charts, if you're familiar with making charts, it would definitely make understanding them a lot easier. Okay. So I'm not getting any responses to this question. How will we organize the details paragraphs? So I'll just tell you what I went with. I went with Sensodyne, Aquafresh, and Crest in body paragraph 1. So I went with Sensodyne. Can't even remember what I said now. Give me a moment. Sensodyne, Aquafresh, and Crest. Aquafresh and Crest. So that's what I did. Paragraph 1, paragraph 1, paragraph 1. And then I had Colgate and Close-Up in paragraph 2. So rather than writing a whole paragraph, it feels like you guys are a bit challenged by this. So what I'll do is I'll just get you to write the one sentence about the one description about Sensodyne. So that's your next task. I'll just write it on the screen here now. Okay, so that's your task there. Write the description for Sensodyne. And again, I will give you feedback on that. If you're doing anything wrong, I'll let you know. So let's just keep it with that. So that's the task. Write a description for Sensodyne. Oh, sorry, my microphone was muted. Regarding Sensodyne, its revenue almost tripled throughout the period. No. If it tripled, it would be an increase of 300%. To triple would be a 300% increase. So what we're looking at is the red category. So it looks like about 1% in 2000, 1% increase in 2000, and about a 4% increase in 2005. So that information would not be accurate. Years ago, specialist in data modeling. Nice. So academic IELTS would be easy for you, Domenico. Amadul, in 2000, Sensodyne's revenue was around 1%. Now, was it 1% higher or 1% lower? Which increased to 4% in the year 2005. Yes, but 4% higher or lower. And also, we're comparing, so 1%, what? 1% what? It's 1% higher than 1995. And then when you say which is giving me a description of the 1%. So we can't use, the bit after which isn't describing around 1%. So we need to use and, which is to give more detail about the thing next to the word which, the thing on the left side of the word which, but that's not what you're describing. So we need the word and there, Mamadou. So a few little mistakes. Basically, for coherence and cohesion, you need to use and instead of which. And then you need to include more information so that the reader knows what does 1% mean. 1% higher than 1995. So make that clear. Are we writing overview or main body paragraph? Sir, we are writing the body paragraph, the description for Sensodyne. So if you look on the screen, we have the overview here already. So we're done. And now we're just going to write the description for Sensodyne. And after that, we'll just finish up there for today. So just wait another 1 or 2 minutes just so I can give feedback to anyone else who wants to share. Okay, Facebook user. In 2000, Sensodyne's revenue was about 1% higher than 1995, but this figure rose to roughly 4% in 2005. Lovely, lovely. That's exactly what we need. Facebook user. Let me find that comment there and I'll type it up. One moment now. So you're in the Facebook group Arezzo. So well done. That's a very good description. So let me just delete that much and then we'll add that in. So this is going to be the first sentence of body paragraph 1 describing Sensodyne. In 2000, Sensodyne's revenue was about 1% higher than, and we just need a preposition, in 1995. Now, you have an independent clause coming up next. So I'm going to change that to a comma. We need a comma here. But this figure rose to roughly 4% in 2005. Lovely. So we don't need to repeat higher than in 1995 because that's already implied. This figure, what figure? The figure compared to 1995. And we've already said it's 1% higher. So we know it's not 1% lower, and and it rolls by 4%. Rolls to roughly 4%. But you know, if it's rising from 1% higher, we know that that's higher. So it's definitely not 4% lower. It's not a 4% decrease. It's a 4% increase because it rose in comparison to 1%. So all the information is very clear there. That's everything we need to say about Sensodyne. So essentially, Sensodyne is done. And then we would continue with the next category. So we would describe the next category, start another paragraph, describe the other two categories, and that would be the chart. So we would continue with a description of every category there. So very good, Erizao. I know I'm saying your name wrong, but fantastic piece of writing. Well done. Okay. So we're going to finish up there today, guys. Basically, paraphrase, overview, and then describe each category individually. So we've done the first category. We just do the same thing. Obviously, try to vary your language, but don't go overboard. Some people try to change every single word. They don't want to use the same word twice, and that's impossible. So, you know, vary your language, but more importantly, make sure that it's clear and that it's accurate. That's more important than having a very wide variety. Comparison bar chart, totally. Okay. Sensodyne increased drastically? No. Drastically would be very big. And when we're talking about a 1 and a 4% increase, we wouldn't refer to that as drastically. From about 1% in 2000 to 4% in 2005. So again, what we're missing here, patients, is the higher. So from about 1% higher in 2000 in comparison to 1995, to 4% in 2005. So that extra information is necessary. Sensodyne is commonly used by many users across the world on average of increasing percentage more than the last century. No, you need to give the actual data. So we're not commenting on what we see. We're describing what we see. So don't include your opinion or your analysis of the data. Just include what is the data. So basically what you would have is the data would be described in a way that somebody could take your answer and draw the graph based on what you've given them. So you're just giving them the information and no comments on any of that. Okay, Pema. In 2000, Sensodyne's revenue was about 1%, and again, 1% higher than 1995, comma, and it rose by 4% in 2005. It didn't rise by, it rose to 4% in 2005, and we don't need respectively. So respectively is when you mention the name of two categories, and after that you give the two pieces of data for those categories. And respectively means is the first figure I mentioned, and the second category I mentioned relates to the second figure that I mentioned. So that's what respectively means. You know, it doesn't mean like I have AB and over here I have BA. It's that you put them in the same order, not that you mix them around. Of course, nobody would do that, but that's what respectively means. So in this case, respectively isn't necessary. Domenico, you're very welcome. I'll get around to it after lunch to keep my hand in. Good man. Should we describe each piece of data? Yes, absolutely, Alexander. Yes, definitely. Very important. Okay, so that's it for today. And thank you all for your participation. Like I said, I have free live feedback lessons on Zoom tomorrow. You'll find the link to join those in the video description. I'll have another live stream next week. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Pema, you're very welcome. To those of you with IELTS tests coming up, best of luck to you. Take care of yourselves, everyone, and bye for now. See you all.